and welcome. I am Exolite, and this is my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another segment in our series of the most haunted forests in the United States. And today we're going to talk about the Dark Entry Forest, and believe me when I tell you this is not one that you're going to want to miss. Before we get started, if you would please do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Helps my video to be seen and to be recommended. If you are not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And if you do, please go ahead and click that bell. It will let you know when my content goes live. Also, below I have a thank you button. And what it is basically a tip jar. And if you ever feel so compelled to leave a tip, it is there. It is not necessary. But I'm letting you know. All right. Let's get started on this one, shall we? On the outskirts of Cornwall, Connecticut, there is a mysterious place known officially as Dudleytown. Dudleytown was never actually a town, but there you go. That's what it's called. And it is the forbidden entrance to the Dark Entry Forest. And it is a hotspot for haunted activity. The ghost stories trace back to the 1800s. The rumors surrounding Dudleytown largely focus on ghosts and curses. And much of that is because when Dudleytown was occupied, it had an extremely high amount of mentally ill people living there, an unusually large number, and a large number of mysterious happenings, hauntings, and people suddenly disappearing. The Dark Entry Forest is situated near the New York State border, and it runs contiguous to, I don't want to butcher this, Wyandot State Forest, which is one of the least visited state forests in the United States, and it has almost no public access. The Dark Entry Forest parcel of land seems to have begun in the early 1900s and has remained in possession of the Dark Entry Forest Association, which goes out of their way to make sure that nobody knows who they are. So it's almost impossible to know who actually owns this property. In 2017, a representative of the Dark Entry Forest wrote in a public letter in support of Senate Joint Resolution 39, resolution approving an amendment to the state constitution to protect real estate property held or controlled by the state, which appears to be asking in advance that they be notified if the Wyandot State Forest is ever to be sold, traded, or given away, because they want to own it. And their reason is potential damage to not only the ecological system, but human lives. Dudleytown, which composes much of the Dark Entry Forest, is best known today as a ghost town. Since the mid-1920s, the land occupied by the village has been maintained by philanthropists as a private land trust, and they reforested the area because it had been used for decades for agricultural use. There are few traces today that a village even existed, such as cellar holes, any buildings, and it is said that if you do walk into the forest, it is deadly silent. There are no animal noises. There are no bird calls, no bugs, no wind noises, and extraordinarily dark. The name Dudleytown was given at an unknown date to a portion of Cornwall that included several members of the Dudley family. The area that became known as Dudleytown was settled in the early 1740s by Thomas Griffiths, followed by Gideon Dudley, and by 1753, Barzillai Dudley and Abel Dudley. Martin Dudley joined them a few years later. Other families then settled there. As with every other part of Cornwall, Connecticut, Dudleytown was converted from forest to farmland. Families tilled the land for generations. Dudleytown was located on the top of a very high hill, which is not ideally suited for farming. When more fertile and spacious land opened up in the Midwest in the 19th century, the local iron industry wound down and Cornwall's population declined. The village was located a few miles south of the Cornwall Bridge neighborhood of Cornwall. It was located in a valley known as the Dark Entry Forest because of the shadows caused by the mountains surrounding the village and the access roads. The town's abandonment has meant that barely any ruins of the original township survive. During the early 20th century, old farms in Cornwall were sold to New Yorkers seeking a better life in the countryside, and that included Dudleytown, which has now been privately owned since 1924 by the Dark Entry Forest Incorporated. The village site is today completely closed to the public, and anyone found trespassing will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law by the Connecticut State Police and the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, which seems odd considering in this country, if you have a ghost town, it's almost a given that it will be exploited, used for tourism. They make a lot of money, but not this place. This place has a secret to hide. There have been paranormal investigators who have gone and said that it's dark secret. That it's almost impossible to take a photograph that doesn't turn out blurry. So you won't find many photographs of the Dark Entry Forest or Dudleytown because something doesn't want it to be seen. When promoting the land trust to investors, a March 1924 prospectus for the Dark Entry Forest states, this society is planning to promote forestation, to run a wood mill, to promote conservation of bird, animal, and wildflower life, to afford a playground for you and your children and your children's children. However, that is not the case, because you cannot enter the forest. Some people claim to have seen black figures, others to have felt chills down their spine, saying that they could feel something or someone watching them. Many people disappeared unexpectedly, without explanation, and never returned. Somewhere in the forest, maybe? Is that a secret that the forest is hiding? And what about the increase in people with mental illness? Or were they just referred to as mentally ill because they too could feel the darkness? And how would it hurt human lives to be able to have access to this forest? Just what does that mean exactly? Thank you for coming to my channel. I hope you enjoyed this segment on the Dark Entry Forest, one of the most haunted forests in the United States, and clearly some secrets. Good night.